It is easier than you may think to get Social Security benefits that you are not entitled to. Fox 11 Investigates has uncovered details about the case of a Northeast Wisconsin man who is currently serving time in federal prison for Social Security fraud. Now, the man was caught lying to get more than $40,000 in benefits. How did he get away with this for 3 years? As Robert Hornacek found out, the federal government gave him the money before it checked out his story.
For nearly 3 years, James Marinas of New London raked in thousands of your tax dollars with little effort. Court records show he used your tax dollars as spending money, even using it to buy a new vehicle. There was just one problem. The $41,000 he brought in wasn't supposed to be his. It was intended to help him raise his son. Carol Hines is Marinas' ex-wife.
When you saw that it was over $40,000, what did you think?
Well, I couldn't believe that a dad would do that to his own child.
Hines and Marinas divorced in 1999 when their son was just 4 years old. Hines has had sole custody of the child ever since. The boy has gone to school in Kimberly since kindergarten, while his dad lived 30 miles away in New London. Yet the Social Security Administration didn't know that.
He was paying child support.
Correct.
Your son was in a totally different community.
Correct.
For more than a decade.
Yep.
And they never checked.
They never checked.
Here's how it happened. Marinas was receiving disability payments from Social Security, and since he had a child who was under the age of 18, he could qualify for additional payments to help care for his son. According to federal court records, in August of 2007, Marinas applied for benefits for his son, telling the Social Security Administration that the child lived with him. And that's all he had to do. The money started flowing into Marinas' account the very next month.
To know that he was sitting there just pocketing money and spending it all. I mean, it wasn't like he was putting it in an account and saving it for his son. He actually was spending all of it.
How easy was it, in your understanding, for your ex-husband to pull this off?
I think it was one piece of paper. I think they believed everything that he wrote down.
Can you believe that?
No. I was shocked. I mean, I was really shocked.
So how did Marinas get away with it? And why did the Social Security Administration just take his word for it that his son lived with him? Well, those are good questions. Unfortunately, we don't have all the answers. Apparently, the Social Security Administration doesn't like to answer questions. The Social Security Administration is responsible for approving applications. Spokesman Doug Wynn from the agency's Chicago office refused to talk with Fox 11 for this story, saying in an email, "We don't do on-air interviews." He also refused to answer any questions about Marinas' case because of privacy laws. In an email, Wynn defended the Social Security Administration, writing, quote, "We inform applicants that they can be held legally responsible for giving us false information." He added that an applicant must attest to the truthfulness of their statements. Basically, it's up to the applicant to tell the truth, and the Social Security Administration takes them at their word. 3 years and more than $40,000 later, the Social Security Administration finally caught up with Marinas. Last year, he was convicted of 1 count of Social Security fraud and sentenced to 10 months in federal prison. The Social Security Administration's Office of the Inspector General is responsible for investigating fraud. Andrew Canarsa from the agency's office in Baltimore, Maryland, did speak with us.
There is monitoring of rep payees, and SSA in its integrity efforts will occasionally, periodically check the statements that you're making.
Canarsa says sometimes it just takes time.
SSA, takes those sworn statements and then will do the verification, as workload and resources and staffing allows. In this case, you're right, it was 3+ years that this individual was making those statements.
The Office of the Inspector General receives more than 150,000 fraud allegations every year. In 2013, the agency closed 10,000 cases worth $500 million. 593 of those cases were similar to the Marinas case. Even though it took 3 years to find out Marinas was lying, Canarsa says the important thing is that he was eventually caught.
Hopefully this serves as a deterrent to others who will assume they can just make any statement to SSA and say, oh, well, they probably won't get around to checking it, because as this case shows, SSA did get around to it.
Carol Hines would prefer to see the fraud prevented in the first place.
Do they do enough on the front end to prevent this from happening?
No, I don't think they do.
Could this have been prevented?
Easily.
For Fox 11 Investigates, I'm Robert Hornacek.
Now, along with his prison sentence, Marinas also does have to pay back the money he received. Fox 11 Investigates contacted Marinas in federal prison to see if he wanted to talk about this story. He did not and declined our request for an interview. If you know or suspect someone who is committing Social Security fraud, you can report it by going to our website, fox11online.com. Click on the Investigates section, and there you will find a link to the Office of the Inspector General.